Chimafidi non kotu era one radio. Samupe jumpe dietia. Chimafidi non kotu era one radio. Oh, ayum pamchima. Chimtu asam pamchima. Chimtu agratum chima. Era one.
Good evening, Era One Radio listeners. It's another Saturday, the 4th day of February. And whenever it's Saturday, you know, on Era One Radio, it's the Health, it's Wealth Protected Show. I'm here in the studio with Dr. Opoku-Agyemang. I don't know whether he has any greetings to share before we proceed. But in case you want to join us, the number to call in is 240-280-2633. Or if you want to text, it's 510-931-0946. And we are broadcasting live from Facebook, YouTube, and Modern Ghana Radio, as well as Ghana Radio. Doc, you are welcome.
You're welcome, Dr. Boison.
Any shout outs, any greetings, any birthday wishes for anybody?
Greetings to all our hearers, particularly those that always open and listen to us. We have good news for you. So please just turn on, and if you have any question, throw it to Dr. Boison and we'll have it discussed. Dr. Boison, I think you can continue now.
All right. Thank you. As I said, we are broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, also on Modern Ghana Radio. Tonight, we are looking at this topic: why are vaccines necessary? It's here for Imre. Yes, as well. One radio show I to the say health is worth Bohombai. While Pomodin Ayawa Hording into Bohombai is son say. So was that dying a mama cry, say, Uni, a Pomodin say, be our yare, say, you went to me, I'm sure who your nature says, Canacrano, and who in New Faso. No mum, so what Hording or Pomodin to swear. Says can hospital, so Dr. Shemi, a physician, ya may say, intended to be our health into health is always your wealth. So, person of prayer, on Sabeka, or area code 240-280-2633, and also open with text as well, 510-931-0946, sorry. On Sabeka or Facebook, and I say YouTube, to what we need app, no, or Google Store and as a Play Store, will download the app, no, but Era One Radio, a beba blue icon, or a download it, I will install your phone, so I can be a baby, which is 24/7 no, on Sabek and Imre, yeah, share vaccines. When they hear vaccines, and now say a dent, say, yeah, vaccines, and now your call for vaccination. All right, listeners, tonight, I'm going to kick off from where Dr. Ennis started last week. He mentioned, or he gave us a very sound doctrine teaching on immunization, and he focused on child immunization. So tonight we are going to continue with these objectives. And so as the teacher would say, by the time we are done, at least we should be able to answer these questions. Why are vaccines necessary? Who needs vaccines? And as why is it that certain diseases have vaccines while others do not? And why the repetition of certain vaccines? In the answer, no, my jungle no, embomba konewia na yabeto so the yenche and I say near per se change me. Yeah, the abem number munyam betumi I enjoy. Okay.
Hello, beautiful people of Ghana. This is Banahine Specialist Hospital. We are so excited to announce to our people Ghana that we are finally opened and we are accepting patients. At Banahine Specialist Hospital, our extraordinary physicians and nurses are here to provide a high-quality medical service to our extraordinary patients. Our services include primary care services, maternal, neonatal, and pediatric services. We also have an in-house pharmacy. We have X-ray and laboratory services available to you. Come to us for all your healthcare needs, and you will be happy you did, because we believe the health is wealth. Thank you, and stay blessed.
Okay, we are back on Era One Radio, and as I said earlier on, we are broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, also Modern Ghana Radio. I'm here in the studio with Dr. Opoku-Agyemang, and on behalf of our studio manager, Dr. Setitu, I want to say you are all welcome, even as we welcome ourselves into your home. As I said earlier on, tonight we are looking at the necessity. Why do we have to get vaccines? You remember that when COVID-19 came, it became a big issue. In the beginning, they said there was no vaccine or there was no cure, whatever. And I mean, we were all paranoid and people were scared. We lost a few lives. But then the rapidity in which they obtained a vaccine for that COVID was, it was just phenomenal. And so tonight we are looking at vaccine. Vaccines have been in existence for so long a time. And the funny thing is that when COVID-19 came and they found a vaccine within less than a year, people were saying, you know what, this is so quick. I don't trust it. I'm not going to take it. But those who take it save their lives, and those who didn't, well, that's another topic. And so we are looking at the necessity of taking the vaccine or having vaccines in our medical system. So I will begin with just a little bit of introduction here, and then I'll let Dr. Opoku-Agyemang join us. So I just give a brief. Now, one may be wondering, what is vaccination and what is immunization? Are they interchangeable? Do we switch them? Are they the same? Do they connote the same definition or what it is? My little study or research I found tells me that vaccination is an act of introducing a vaccine into one's body. The purpose of which is to produce protection from specific disease. So with a vaccination, you are introducing a vaccine. I mean, they call it attenuated objects or substance into your body, so that when the body later sees something like that, it's not that, oh, I've seen it before. And then it creates an antibody is created, which the body begins to use to fight other future diseases. And when you talk about immunization, it is a process by which a person becomes protected against disease through vaccination. So the vaccination leads to immunization. So we say that somebody is immune because it was vaccinated with an object or a chemical. It could be a chemical, it could be a biological weapon which mimics the real life event. So when the body sees it later, it's going to know, oh, this is something that I know. And then the white cells and the body soldiers go to fight it. And these terms are often interchangeable. Somebody will say, oh, I'm getting my vaccination, I'm getting my immunization. Now you know the difference, that the vaccination is a process where you introduce a vaccine. This could be a biological, weapon or something, a chemical into your body, and then that leads to you becoming immune. And a few key facts that we have to know, and normally I try to get my facts from a reliable source like CDC, FDA sites, so they are legit. Not just I don't just go to Wikipedia and however legit they are, you want to get your source from a very good place. So vaccination is the term used for getting a vaccine, that is having the injection of or taking an oral vaccine dose. Another key fact is that immunization refers to the process of both getting the vaccine and becoming immune to the disease following vaccination, like I said earlier on. And vaccines take time to work. They are not instantaneous because your immune system needs time to produce an immune response to the vaccine. All right. So another fact I want you to know is that some vaccines work after one dose, but others require more doses to be effective. And for some, you need a booster and all that, to restore your immunity of the disease to the disease, which can lessen over time. And then another point is that vaccines are available. Those in Australia, for instance, a country like Australia, you have to undergo strict medical testing to ensure they are safe before they are even allowed in the public domain. You have to subject you to a lot of governmental issues before this. Okay, this is just like the COVID-19. When the COVID came, it had to go through FDA, CDC, and all that. And eventually, when it was approved, even that it wasn't approved to be accepted, they used emergency use. That way, if anything happens, FDA can say, okay, we approve because all the clinical trials and everything have been done, and we say, okay, now approved. They had to use an emergency authorization, which means that stopping the use of the vaccine could produce more harm than not using it. So they err on the side of caution, say, you know what, we are not actually approving this for you, but we are just giving authorization that you can use it to mitigate what we are going through. And it actually did. It lowered the death, the mortality, and the morbidity. So at least it served the purpose. All right, Doc, I'm going to leave it in your hands for us to take us through why the necessity. Why do we need to? Why is it necessary for us to get a vaccine or vaccination?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Boison. I think you have already mentioned the most important things that led to the manufacturing of vaccines. If you look at the diseases that have vaccines, we can look at them in a very critical way that do they have any treatment for that? Yes. If you look at across all the diseases that have, some of them have some kind of medication, something like tetanus. They have some kind of treatment for it, but vaccination prevents it better than going through the treatment. So there are certain diseases that are not easily treatable, but the vaccine can prevent them well. One of them is maybe retroviruses and Haemophilus influenza type B, and you go to pneumococci and meningococci and other diseases that we can mention of that are related to viruses. So you know that virus diseases are really difficult to cure because they have a very short incubation period. As soon as they get you within 21 days, if you don't have any resistance to fight it, you'll be out of the earth. And those vaccines, those diseases are the diseases that have some vaccines. You talk about varicella, you talk about the variola virus, like smallpox, which actually came to wipe a lot of people from this earth. Without vaccination, smallpox could have been one of the most dangerous diseases in this world. And with the help of the vaccines, smallpox name is no longer mentioned in the system again. Similar to disease like measles, which was killing children under 5 years, it also was a disease with a very strong instinct that was also killing a lot of children, particularly in the tropical region, more of sub-Saharan African and the areas. With the presence of measles vaccine, now the disease is controlled. When you look at such diseases and the way the mortality rate is so high, vaccine has gone a long way to reduce the mortality rate to a tolerable level. And the vaccines are not any huge volume of fluid that the person gets. It's a very tiny drop, maybe 0.5 milliliter or maybe 0.1 milliliter. These are some small, minute substances that are introduced into the body, as said by Dr. Boison, and they induce the body to produce a lot of antibodies which fights against them. So if you look at the range of the vaccines related to diseases, the vaccines are made from very strong, or what do I say, strong diseases that can kill a lot of people. Those are the diseases that have vaccines. One of them that we recently noted was the COVID-19. COVID-19 without the vaccines could have right now wiped a lot of people away. With vaccines, the potency rate has come down, and then the mortality rate has also come down. So we don't get a lot of people dying. They can even get a disease. With vaccine, you get a disease, but you don't get it as it should have been if you didn't have the vaccines. So when you look at the trend of the whole disease across board, which have vaccines, you know that the disease are very, very strong, and they can they kill people in numbers, not in small numbers, in clusters, in any other areas you can think of. And some of these diseases are more of airborne, and some of them are contact, and some of them are fecal-oral. Some of them are also through infusion. So you see a whole range of it. But interestingly, the vaccine has actually done a greater job by reducing all kinds of killing related to this particular disease that have that kind of mode of transmissions. So with this, I think I will leave it with Dr. Boison to add any comment that he has for it.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Opoku-Agyemang. Well, listeners, you are listening to us live from Facebook, YouTube, Modern Ghana Radio, and Ghana Garden Radio, I should say. Well, Dr. Opoku-Agyemang was just giving us the necessity for taking the vaccine. Sometimes we call something the lesser of two evils. I mean, do you take this because it's going to cause harm, or you're not going to take it and it's going to lead to death? So doctors have to come to that conclusion that, if I withhold this thing from giving it to you, then the after effect is going to be worse. So they have to take that precaution of saying, after looking at clinical studies and all that, I think this is necessary. I mean, of course, they sign it with their license, and if anything happens, they have to stand for it. Just like when you're going for blood transfusion. I mean, nobody wants to take anybody's blood, of course, but then the doctor will say, you know what, if you don't give this anemic person blood, then they're going to die. So I have to sign for maybe 2 pints of blood or whatever it is. I put my license on board, and they have to do it. And stuff sometimes happen, but then, hey, they have sworn that oath to save lives and not to, kill it. So vaccination, I mean, I don't know your faith or however you look at it, but then clinical proofs have shown that, it's worth it. All right, so let me just give, tonight we are not doing question and answers. We're having a discussion, both of us, so we're both going to chip in. So I just want to give a little bit about a layman's view of how vaccination or immunization works, and then we'll go on to the other aspect of, who needs it and all that stuff. So,
yeah, but Doc, before you go on, let me just push one point in there.
Okay.
When you look at the necessity for vaccines, I mean, you look at the physical, the economic aspect of it, and the cost to the family and the cost to the entire population. With vaccines, treatment cost is lowered. You can, if you have to pay any money, you will pay maybe about $10 for let's say one dose of vaccination. But when you are sick with the disease, you can spend more than $1,000.
Yeah, $1,000 millions. Yeah.
A relationship between using vaccine to prevent the disease than waiting until you get sick and then you pay some money. It's not only to the patient alone or the medication that you are going to buy when the person is sick of that particular disease. What happens is that the whole family becomes sick.
That's
and
true.
when the whole family becomes sick, the job that they are doing also becomes sick. So it's a chain of something. It can go all the way to the point somebody who is even not sick to get sick somewhere. Because a doctor's wife, a daughter has measles, and the doctor does not go to work. Remember, all his patients are not going to get treated, and then the work they are doing is not going to function. So it's a whole lot of chain. That is why we see that vaccination is very important. Do it to cut all those chains off, so that the continuity of the job could also take place. So let me just end here. And after that, we can add something to it.
Okay, wonderful. That's a very good and a great point that Dr. Opoku-Agyemang you brought up, because I see it as a treatment ahead of the disease itself. What I mean is that it is a process, something you do to mitigate something that is going to happen in the future. You don't have the disease right now, but you are putting certain steps into place so that when the disease shows up, you've already treated it. For instance, let me take a good example, like getting the flu shot. We were in the flu shot, September coming, we're in the flu season. All right. I didn't get the flu, but by nature of my work, I am supposed to get a flu shot every year. I have to. So I go in and take the flu shot. I didn't experience any symptoms, nothing about sickness here and there. But I had to go and proactively go for the flu shot to mitigate what is going to come in the future. So let's say if I didn't go for it and December, January, the flu was upon us, I could have easily gotten it. But because I had gone ahead and taken the vaccination, it's taking care of what would have happened to me later on. And just like Dr. Opoku-Agyemang said, the cost is so minimal, very, very minimal. I mean, the dose of one dose of the flu shot that I went for, I don't even know how much I pay, because my insurance paid for it, so I don't even calculate how much it cost me. But then I don't think it's even more than $40, I should say. Just let me put on the upper hand, $40. I mean, although it's even less than that. saved myself. I have saved the federal government a lot of money, because if I fall short because of the flu, then I'll be bedridden. I'll be staying home maybe 2-3 days of not going to work. And of course, when you are sick, that is not where you want to carry yourself to work and go and infect your co-workers and other people. So you're going to stay home. So you are losing work hours. And if you are somebody who have to clock in to work to get your daily wage or whatever, then you are losing hours. So by getting the vaccine or the shot ahead of time, you have saved yourself time. Sometimes people want to wait till the disease or something comes upon them before they want to experience. Like Ghana, what can you be so? Oh, a foot in Sakanipa, just an social. Who to know for so Kwame? Men, you will know the way we answer or some minty jai or bet chema, they could not be tunnel. No, who say, oh, Sebra, what can I say? Yes, that is how some people learn. They want to experience stuff before they can make a decision. Anyway, that's by the way. So we just trying to say that.
Doc, even not that, look at it from another perspective. If you are serving people and you get sick, what is going to happen to the people you are serving?
Of course, you're going to transmit to all of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's another issue. Yeah, you're going to transmit to all the people that you work with. And recently, I don't know what I heard about it. It's a guy that say, watch it, woman be or ton watch it, or I think we beside whole baby. I don't know the full details, but I heard there were about 40 people that were infected and 6 or 7 people died. We don't know exactly what happened in the food, whether it was a food poison or, I mean, I can't speculate, but it's alleged that about 40 people ate this woman's wache, and the wache seller herself, Onanka saw ton wache in Kofu 6. I mean, I don't know what investigations come up to. So it could be anything. I mean, either it's food poisoning or there was a spread of something. Nobody knows. So you alone can spread something. But then once you are vaccinated, your body is immune to it. It fights it. And so it saves a lot of people. All right. So let's look at the layman's approach of how this immunization works. So all the immunization that we think about, they all work by the same principle. They all just introducing something into the body gets used to, identifies it, and then it works against it. So let's say if somebody gets a vaccine, what happens is that their body becomes immune. They produce an immune system, response to the same. And this happens in the same way as an exposure to something. So the vaccine they gave us when we got the COVID, the organism they put inside, the dead organism they gave us, it's similar in shape, RNA shape, just like the actual organism. So when they put it in us and later on the actual organism came to our body says, hey, Jack, I've seen it before. I know you're a bad guy coming in with guns and weapons to come and destroy me. So I'm going to fight you. And then because the body is immune to something like that, it marshals all his soldiers, and with all the accoutrements, they come and they fight this thing. So that's the way it works. So your immune system's familiarity with the disease allows your body to make a faster immune response if you are ever exposed to the disease naturally. And that often, your immune system responds fast enough to prevent you from developing any symptoms of the disease. In other cases, it may not occur fast enough to prevent you from developing symptoms, but vaccination will reduce your chance of becoming seriously ill. So you get it ahead of time, and so when the actual pandemic hits you, you are clothed, you are immune. And so even if it's going to take you maybe a week of suffering with side effects or symptoms, it might be mild because your system is working. And of course, the younger people, children, and the elderly, they are the ones that have their immune system a little bit compromised and lower. So they kind of go through a lot of the disease more. But then once you are vaccinated, it reduces the risk of the kind of suffering that you're going to go through. All right, Doc, if you want to add anything, and then we can go to who needs it or who has to be vaccinated.
Okay, just one few things that I probably want to add to it is that when you get vaccinated, your physical body is protected. Your physical body is protected. And if you are doing something for next person, you protect that person too. So the fact that you are vaccinated means you also prevented somebody from getting the infection. So if 2 of you are protected, you are going to probably protect more than 4 people from infection. So vaccinating yourself alone does not limit the prevention of the disease to you alone, but you prevent other people from getting it too.
That's true. All right. So let's look at now who needs it. And let me just give a little intro here, and then Dr. Opoku-Agyemang will come in. So it's CDC says that in the United States, vaccination programs have eliminated many vaccine preventable diseases and markedly reduced the incidence of others. Because infants and young children were the principal recipients of most vaccines developed during the 20th century, for instance, the polio. Many persons in the United States might believe that vaccines are solely for young people. However, vaccinations are recommended for persons of all ages. So it used to be thought that vaccination was for children because when we were born, as soon as we were born, they put either orally or through the needle, they vaccinate. So it became a kind of myth that the vaccination was for only children, babies. We got most of our vaccination when we were children. You get it before you even start school. So the myth became that it's only for children. So what if you were a child and you were not exposed to that vaccination? Then you think that, oh, with the young 17, 80 there, who wants to vaccinate me? But then improved vaccination coverage can result in additional reductions in the incidence of vaccine preventable diseases that affect persons throughout their lifespan and decrease the associated morbidity and mortality. So there are these vaccinations have been scheduled. I would say they come in different phases of life. There are some that we get as soon as we are born. There are some, especially the girls too, who are in school. There are some vaccination that they have to get before they are 14 or 15 and all that. And especially when you take something like flu is all season. Akwadaje, peneje, akwokraje, abrewaje, obia can get that vaccine. So we all have to. It's not limited to when you were a baby. We all have to go through. And when COVID came, those who wanted to get it, it was irrespective of age. We all had to go through. So there are some vaccines that are, I would say, universal or everybody can get it. There are some that come along the way that some would decide, oh, I don't want to get it. And even COVID, it's not everybody who got it. There was some religious reason that some said, okay, because of my religion, I'm not going to get it. And some who said it was all crap. I mean, it's how you see. So I'll let Dr. Opoku-Agyemang continue from the way he wants to ask.
I'm so interested about when somebody said it's a crap, he doesn't want that thing to be in the system so that he could be identified when he goes anywhere. That was a very strange story that was running over all the countries. And that also stopped people from getting the COVID vaccines. Actually, I can tell that there are about 20 dangerous diseases that have vaccines against them. I can mention some of them. We have a disease like yellow fever, who was killing people like any other thing. We talk about hepatitis B. We talk about the rotaviruses. We talk about Haemophilus influenza. We are talking about polioviruses, diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. We're talking about pneumonia, meningococcus, influenza, and mumps, measles, and rubella. And you're talking about varicella. And then you talk about hepatitis K and human papilloma virus. All these diseases were very strong diseases that were killing people anyhow. But with the presence of vaccines, all the people who would have died through this disease have been prevented. So we are saying that vaccine is a very good source of medicine that prevent diseases. If it does not even prevent, it controls it. Looking at it from the perspective of somebody being immunized, you could be immunized or you can receive vaccination. And then when you get the disease, the disease will not even have any impact on you. It just come and go. But if you don't have it, the possibility of you getting into a critical condition and dying of it is very high. So here, we all believe that vaccine has done a very great job, and more of them are needed to help control other diseases that are not controlled now. There are areas that I want us to look at very well. In fact, before you are 18 years, you should have had almost all the vaccines that can prevent you in adulthood. Before 18 years. And before your first year, you should have received almost all the vaccines that require triple doses should have done all of them. And there are some vaccines that are not limited to this age group that I mentioned. Anybody can get it, as Dr. Boison just said. Something like flu vaccines, something like varicella or chickenpox vaccines, something like mumps and mumps vaccines, and then you can talk of tetanus. But tetanus has two other ways that you can give the vaccine to you. They have the torsade form, which could be given to you. And then when you look at hepatitis B, and this time there's also hepatitis A vaccine that is also coming out, which is also used to prevent hepatitis A. So those diseases that I just mentioned, the vaccines could be given to anybody until maybe if you decide not to do it based on your religion or your own fantasy, or if you are maybe 65 years and you think you don't need it anymore. So that is all about the people who might or who should have the vaccines. Let me just build on it again. I said you have to get all your vaccines before the age 18, and you have to get almost all the vaccines, triple doses vaccines by the age 1. And the other disease that has no discrimination of age, you can get it anytime. The next thing is that when there's any sporadic or pandemic or epidemic, and the scientists are able to manufacture vaccines, they can also give to you. So a typical of it was cholera. When cholera just came, they built a vaccines that was also given to people. That is how it can, when there's any epidemic or sporadic or pandemic or anything that carries a whole population out, the scientists are fast enough to build some vaccines. If they build and it's more preventive, they will use it. And they have been using some for COVID now, and they have also used some for cholera, and it all brought the disease down. The mortality rate was so down for us. So I think these are the things that I can talk about, those who should receive the vaccines.
All right, thank you, Dr. Opoku. Let's take a quick jungle break, and then we'll continue with probably the importance and why certain diseases don't have vaccines and all that. All right.
Chimafidi non kotu era one radio. Samupe jumpe dietia. Chimafidi non kotu era one radio. Oh, ayum pamchima. Chintu asam pamchima. Chintu egratum chima. Era one, yebebo numpamkua.
Well, welcome back to Era One Radio. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Modern Ghana Radio, and Garden Radio. Tonight, we are looking at the interesting and intriguing topic, the necessity or why we need to get vaccines or get our vaccination. Well, it's been an interesting hour here. Dr. Opoku-Agyemang is on the other side of the studio, educating us. Of course, you know, Era One is an educational platform. We like to impart what we know. So please join us if you want to discuss or put any questions. 240-280-2633, and join us with your discussion. If you are a medical expert, you want to share your knowledge, you are free to do so. And so after 36 minutes of talking, both of us, let's take a quick musical interlude, and when we come back, like I said, we'll go into the importance and why some diseases don't have vaccination or vaccines for it. All right. Well, we don't own the property to this music, but then this is a church member who has given us, you know, the right to play this music as our musical interlude. So we'll be back.
It's the main year. Adena Wasua mani suwa for Sunday. Aden Urefiana. Say to me mania any about Adena Wasua mani suwa for Sunday. Aden meba, Aden cra. Hey, I was any that's what's up. Any that's what, any that's so. Any that's on Sacra. Any that's so. Oh, any that's on Sayo. Any that's so. I am in Subia. Any that's so. Any that's so. Any that's so. Oh, I do. Get to see. Any that's so. I didn't cry na mubefra. When you name more crowns, a day in a bedi, Anaya Banum, Anna Monica Beyonce. I didn't cry na mubefra. Or crans in a DNA. Then if I be sing to mana. I didn't me back, I didn't cry. Then I was any that's so sad. Or crans in a DNA. Then if I be sing to mana. I didn't me back, I didn't cry. They was any that's so sad. One day we munuma, say one no na one pam. To a ready my what did me? To a sit that you may ready. Eh, who ready? Nani kumu kuma impowa. Now our bones and is a sewer. Now my ubiri. Adena wasua mani suwa for some day. Aden me back, Aden cry. They are sunny that suicide.
Say oje wo for money and you not in the names for how new the jina for to so no beyama if you say oje wo for money and you not in the so people when you say judging no beyama if you say oje wo for money and you not for money and you so some children
All right, I know you are enjoying the music, and if we say we're going to play the whole thing, time will overtake us. So I want us to zoom into why we need to take this, the importance of the vaccine. We're telling you the necessity, and I want to come back to the importance. It's very, very important that, you know, we might say, okay, necessarily and importance, they are the same, but I just want to bring in some epidemiological studies from CDC. We want to substantiate what we are saying with some data. So according to CDC, every year, thousands of adults in the US become needlessly ill from infectious diseases. Many are hospitalized and some even die from disease that could be preventable or prevented by vaccines. So the CDC goes on to say that flu is responsible for up to 35.6 million illnesses and 56,000 deaths each year. About 900,000 people get pneumococcal pneumonia every year, leading to as many as 400,000 hospitalizations, and 28,000 deaths. Another point, about 10 to 13% of people who get shingles will experience a painful complication called post-hepatic neuralgia, PHN for short. This pain can last from weeks to years. Also, as many as 2.2 million people suffer from chronic hepatitis B with complications such as liver disease or liver cancer. All right, so the last point I want to mention is that HPV causes about 19,700 cases of cancer in women and about 12,800 cases of cancer in men annually. Moreover, about 4,000 women die each year from cervical cancer. So, of course, now you can infer from here the study I read why we need the importance of this. All right, so at this time, I'll let Dr. Opoku-Agyemang go into why certain diseases do not have vaccines. I think I'm hearing some background noise. There are some diseases that do not have vaccines, so I'll let Opoku-Agyemang go over and then take us through that.
Yeah, I think you have just mentioned the prevalences of all diseases, but you didn't add the cost. Let's assume that all the people that you mentioned, all the cases that you mentioned are maybe the total of about 1 million. If everybody pays about $100 per illnesses, or the government spends $100 per illnesses, count it, how many millions are the government going to spend? So it is one of the reasons why it is very significant and important for everybody to get immunized. If you get vaccinated, if you are vaccinated, you are preventing this money that is going to be used to care for you or to care for your treatment. Alongside with that, that money that is being used for your treatment could be used for any other thing to help those who are not sick. They can be helped in building schools. They can be helped in building roads. They can be helped to repair bridges. They can be helped to do whatever the money could be used for. So that is one aspect of it. And then we earlier on mentioned about the problems with the families. If one person gets sick in the family, the entire family is sick. If a couple has a single person who is a daughter or a son who is sick in the house, the two of them will not go to work. And they will lose money. The child has a physical problem. The parents have socioeconomic problem there. So these are the elements of fact that. Hold on.
Kosua na ti era one radio empenyini say yensoma na motenten yesoma banyasafo era one radio yedin sem anumuaye ebrem.
Sampa bietia Chimafidi non kotu era one radio Samupe Jumpa bietia Chimafidi non kotu era one radio Oh Ayum pamchuma Chintu Asam pamchuma
So I was just looking around to get the figures for each ailment and the prevalence of each ailment and the cost for it. It took me a little time, so I couldn't get it. But I'm just basing my argument on the fact that Dr. Boison has just provided. Every ailment has its own peculiar cost. This ailment is preventable, but if you do not prevent it, the cost is very huge. If you do not do it, one, you can infect another person who is very innocent. And the person who is innocent, when he gets the disease, you don't know the family issue they have. You compound the problem of your issue onto their issue, making it bigger for them to resolve their issue. Therefore, the lifespan in that particular family is going to be shortened. So what I'm trying to draw each one of us attention is that if you have vaccination, you prevent all this. The cost to the government, the cost to the state, the cost to you, and the cost to your community. And don't forget that if for some reason the disease that you get, if you do not prevent it and you die, you leave a whole sorrow into the community and your children. So it's vitally important to consider vaccines, which is more preventable, to prevent your disease. Therefore, you go for it and save your life and save the life of others. Besides the economic issue, we have another issue like leaving a hole. If you don't do it and you die, maybe you might be an expert who is helping a certain company. You leave a hole there. The company cannot get you anymore, and the production may be hampered. So, vaccines are very important. They prevent a whole lot of economic and psychosocial issues. So the more you do it, the more you save others, the more you save the production, the more you save the government, the more you save anybody in the community.
All right, thank you, Dr. Opoku-Agyemang. Well, at this time, we have 12 minutes more. I want to take us quickly through why certain diseases do not have vaccines. And I did a little research and came up with this write-up by Donald McNeil Jr. And he said this that I want to, read here for your listening pleasure. He said, vaccines are among the most ingenious of inventions and among the most maddening. Some global killers like smallpox and polio have been totally or nearly eradicated by products made with methods dating back to Louis Pasteur. Others like malaria and HIV utterly frustrate scientists to this day, despite astonishing new weapons like gene editing. So pretty much what he's saying is that there are some diseases that have found vaccination or immunization too. But the good old HIV is something that is still hiding from scientists. I mean, there have been here and there solutions, so you can do this, take this, and you kind of suppress it. But the actual vaccine to combat is still in the works. We have children's vaccines against measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria, whooping cough, tetanus, chickenpox, polio, hepatitis A and B, rotavirus, pneumococcus, hemophilus, influenza, and meningococcal disease. They have changed our expectations of mortality and of parenthood. In 17th century England, 1/3 of all children died before age 15. Today, thanks largely to those vaccines, less than 1% of English children do. All right, so this is what McNeil is saying. And I just add that in tropical countries, there are vaccines against yellow fever, cholera, Japanese encephalitis, meningitis A, typhoid, dengue, and rabies. But there is still, despite 30 years of effort, no AIDS vaccine. So you realize that although there's been breakthroughs in medicine or, microbiology, medical technology, and all that you can think of, there's been vaccine against some diseases, but there's some that's still struggling. An example that we've learned is HIV. I want Dr. Opoku-Agyemang to add whatever he wants to, add to what I said.
Yeah, as just Dr. Boison has just said, we have a lot of diseases that have vaccines, but there are a lot that do not have. Some of them are in the process. I know NIH is working hard on malaria vaccines, which sometimes is in a trial now. And there are other vaccines that are also, almost of all the diseases that have no vaccines, the scientists are working on it. But some of them have not come into light yet. But those that has come to light are the ones that we have enjoyed. And there are some that has also helped us to eradicate a lot of diseases. Right now, it appears in West Africa, for instance, yellow fever is almost at a minimal level because of yellow fever vaccines. And all in one. Measles is now down. Hepatitis, which was rising like any other rising disease, is also controlled under vaccines. There are certain diseases like HIV, which is also under discussion by some of these companies working on it. We are hoping that they can all come out with vaccines to prevent the disease for us, particularly the STDs. See, the STDs are very, very, very high potent disease in the world that has not been controlled. We have something like gonorrhea. We have something like other STD diseases that we need vaccines that can help to prevent them, so people do not transmit this, because it's a very cool disease that when people get it, they normally don't tell, and they keep on spreading to one another. If there is some kind of vaccines to control it, mine would be very much appreciated. So I'm praying that they will also, the scientists will work faster to get the remedy to all these things. Those are the few ones that I can mention about. But I think we are still working hard to see if some vaccines could be produced against those diseases that has no vaccines.
All right, thank you very much. Listener, you are still listening to us on Era One Radio. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Modern Ghana Radio, as well as Garden Radio. Tonight is being myself and Dr. Opoku-Agyemang on the other side of the studio. We will be remiss if you don't end our discussion with the final objective of why we need a repetition of certain vaccines. So sometimes you go to see your doctor and it's okay, especially let's use COVID-19 as an example. When COVID-19 came and vaccine was discovered, many were of the opinion that just one dose will fix the problem. But come to think of, the vaccine companies, Pfizer and all the other rest, the rest came and said, okay, you know what, you need a booster. I said, oh, really? But and it's because the vaccine kind of wanes in the body. It kind of, I'll use the word depreciation. It decreases in value and potency. So you have to beef it up. And this is one thing I realized, that it is important that everyone receive 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. That's the minimum to provide the best long-lasting protection against the COVID-19. So what it meant was that the first one that we had, it took, I think, about 6 months, and its potency kind of went in our body. So we have to get a booster to make sure the incoming fight, our bodies will be able to fight it. That is why we couldn't just take one and that was it. Moderna and other people were trying to make sure that, you get 1 dose and that is it. But for most of these vaccines, 1 dose is not enough. You may have to get a booster to make sure your body is actually immune, because the antagonistic organism, the one that is coming to fight you, the SARS-CoV virus, is also strong. And so you have to make sure you are counteracting its potency. So with the 5 minutes left, I think Dr. Opoku-Agyemang will also explain to us why the necessity, why we need a repetition of the dose to be able to come. Some of them we don't need. For instance, with the flu shot, I get it once a year. I don't have to get a booster for it, but the one is enough to take me through. And as I said, with COVID and other, disease, you might want to get, or it's necessary you get more than 1 to have the long-lasting immunity against the disease. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Boison. When we look at some of the vaccines, let me just take us through a little few of them. When you look at measles, for instance, measles you get it 1 time, and sometimes when you're going to school, they give you a booster. But vaccines like DTP, you might require about 3 times successively for the first 6 months of your life, and maybe you get a booster and get a booster again. What it is that sometimes your immune system will wind down, and then you have to rebuild it up. So you put a little dose in there, and then to make sure that the old one that they put in you is still functioning. So when they put a new one there, it boosts it further, so that you don't get that disease. But there are certain vaccines that, particularly those that are given yearly, they have some kind of common factors related to that. When you look at some of them, they have some kind of imitated organisms, like the flu, for instance. Every year we get some kind of imitation. So you cannot use the old vaccines the same time and give it to that person. If that is the case, then one vaccine is enough for the rest of the year, the rest of your life. But because of the mutation, every year they have to combine the new mutation with the old one and then give it to you. So every year you have to get a new vaccine. It's the same thing to COVID. The COVID also had that kind of mutation. That is why we have to get almost all the first 2 doses, and now they recommend that you have to get another booster. Maybe it is possible that even COVID is going to be yearly also because of the mutation of the COVID virus. So what I'm trying to add to what Dr. Boison is saying is that it's very important to think about the vaccine, the nature of that parasite that is causing that disease, and the nature of how it imitates within the year, and then think about the vaccines that they give it to you. With the mutation, it's likely the vaccine is going to change with the code or any number. And at any point in time that the vaccine mutates, where some scientists are so fast that they will catch it up and then develop vaccines against it. So that is why some of the yearly vaccines some of the vaccines we get them yearly. I'm sorry. And then unlike measles and tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis, and hepatitis C, and all kinds of things, the vaccines are given 3 times. You get a booster, you get a next booster, and possibly the 4th booster, and then that is all for the rest of your life. Pneumococcus, you get a yearly. It's also those are the organisms that I'm trying to draw our attention that there's some sort of imitation, so you have to get a yearly. And then apart from that, all other vaccines that do not have that kind of mutation identity, we get it at a specific time, and that is the end of that.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Opoku, for pointing that out. Of course, you mentioned that there are some of these diseases that organisms, viruses, or viruses are the crazy ones. They mutate almost every year, so that is why the actual dose you get in one particular year is not going to be the same. I mean, they also alter it to mitigate against the genetically improved organism, because the flu will come with different shape. They realize that mankind wants to destroy me, so they also evolve themselves and come out with a stronger version of themselves so they can actuate us. That is why the vaccines are also kind of altered. I mean, increase in dose or potency to make sure they are mitigating whatever virus is coming against us. Well, it's been an excellent evening with Dr. Opoku-Agyemang. And before we go, I would just want to introduce this help to you. Diabetes, I know, doesn't have a vaccine against it. It is something that, your body goes through, and, you want to make sure you're staying away from whatever gives you that chronic disease. But for those of you in Ghana, the Ghana FDA has approved this herbal tea. And so if you are somewhere near the, Accra metropolis or Kumasi or whatever, you can get a hand of this product. And, it's a herbal tea that really, really helps with diabetes. You just put in the hot water, drink it, and then it should take care of your diabetes. If your A1C is high, this will help. I mean, there's no vaccine for diabetes, but you want to make sure whatever remedy comes your way, you want to take it and stay longer. Let's watch.
This is not your typical tea. The Major Herbal Tea by Glucose Care International is a nutritious drink and a natural blood glucose reducer. Gymnema plant, the active ingredient, and the Major Herbal Tea suppresses the absorption of carbohydrate ingested from your diet. The green tea content in the Major Herbal Tea promotes rejuvenation of dead cells, detoxification of your system, stimulates the pancreas to release insulin, and improves metabolism. Drinking 1 sachet of Major Herbal Tea after meals prevents the rise in blood sugar levels, suppresses appetite, and improves bowel movement. Drinking Major Herbal Tea regularly after meals can also prevent type 2 diabetes. We encourage you to drink Major Herbal Tea 3 times in a day, coupled with mild exercises to maximize its benefits. Major Herbal Tea has been approved by the FDA. Toxicity test conducted by SGS, so it is safe and non-toxic. A product of Singapore. With Major Herbal Tea, your peace of mind is guaranteed. Call our shop now on 0245 810 623 and set your path to good health.
They are 4 women. They are beautiful with brains. They are eloquent, decent, wise, and experienced. You have heard many, the funny. Now, it's time to hear the experience and the brainy. Meet Selena, Dorcas, Gifty, and Annette as they present the real in common getting. Inkomo biaye sesi chin. The asentakre no assume the real Inkomo getting. Showing live this and every Sunday, 7 p.m. on Era One Radio on Facebook and on YouTube, Era One Radio and on Taibo channel. Kaise, so we see the real Inkomo getting ya. What brabon tete? We nyan konkonsa. We the real Inkomo getting.
In trying to explain a bit of why you need to take the vaccine. And the disclaimer is that we are not imposing this on anybody. It is just an educational platform and knowledge that we are sharing. Some of you have reasons why you don't have to. It could be medical reasons, it could be religious reasons, whatever it is, you know best. You've discussed with your provider or your doctor. So nobody's imposing it on anybody. It's just an education that we are giving. You have your choice to decide on what you want to do, but just speak to your doctor and find out whether whatever you are doing to your body or with your body is good for you. So as before we leave, I'll let Dr. Opoku-Agyemang summarize if he has any closing remarks to give before we round up and close up shop. All right, Doc.
Yeah, Dr. Boison, what I will add to what you have just said is that vaccines are good, very preventable. It saves money, saves time, reduce the socioeconomic problems, and also prevent the government from spending much money on buying medicines and even building more hospitals. So it is always better for each and every person who have access to have vaccination to go for it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, well, listeners, it's been a pleasure having you this evening. We are 4 minutes over time, but I just want to say that you can go back to YouTube and Facebook and listen to this and all the broadcast recordings that we've done over the couple of years. And thanks to Dr. Osetutu, we bring you this educational, platform. Keep watching everyone. It's 24/7. Anytime you click on Facebook, YouTube, you will meet us there. For those of you who don't have the app, go to Google Store or Play Store, download it on your phone, wherever you are in your car, wherever. During break time, you can just go and sit in your lunchroom and just listen and get inspired. So many programs from Monday through Sunday. There's plethora of events for you to watch, listen, and beef your life up. So have a good evening, have a good weekend, and we'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye.
Chimafidi non kotu Era One Radio Samupe Jumpe Dietia Chimafidi non kotu Era One Radio Oh Anyum Pamchima Chintu Asam Pamchima Chintu Ekratum Chima Era One Yebo Numpampua
Sampaetia Obayansa Fuso Munia one Kana Sam Tema to some Kakre was supreme. Yo, oh my woman, oh many mamma, Kenny baby, watch out, Zayawarin. Once, one in as I did power of you. So I am one of them. Yana,